Okay, let's talk about programming versus coding. What is the difference? We are in a digital era. Maybe you've come across the people interchangeably using coding and programming as they mean the same, one and the same. Yeah, it's a familiar perception that coders and programmers are one and the same thing. The consciousness has been so wide spread that people don't know the difference, or they don't see the difference anymore. When you say you are coding, you say you are programming. But here I want to put it forward that they are not the same. So you learn their differences from this video. On the contrary, like I said earlier, there are a lot of differences between computer programming and coding as it relates to software development, development environment or terminologies. There is also much enhancements as in computer programming lately that people are now beginning to see, especially top professionals, that data analysis should also need to learn programming or add programming in their job. Now look at the picture here, the coding and the programming. The difference between coding and the programming, if you look at the coding, it has a lot of components, as in environments or programming languages attached to it. You have HTML, which is basically for web programming, because the only thing that the browser understands is HTML. So whatever language you use in writing your web application, at the end of the day, it is broken down to HTML, which is hypertext markup language. That's the only thing that the browser can understand or interpret. Then you also, in the side of coding, you have C++, you have Java, you have PHP, you have CSS. Yes, CSS is called cascaded style sheets for design, look and feel of the web interface. Okay, so you can also have like .NET, you can have Laravel, you can have Python. All of these are coding languages. So these contribute to coding. Now, on the other side is the programming. The programming it goes a long way, goes more detailed than coding. Coding seems to be a kind of subset in programming. Programming takes more details of the whole project into account. I'm looking at problems and solutions. If you look at it, goes all the way from feasibility studies, all the way to designing, system design, database design, all the way to interface design. And at the end of the day, a bug-free, perfect, near perfect solution comes out. That's all about programming. Now look at it. There's a lot of difference, as you can see in the table below. Let's look at them in details through a table, as you can see. Look at the side of coding. Coding is a part of programming that deals with writing codes that a machine can understand. That's just a subset of programming. You just write a code that will tell the computer, this is what I want you to do, like a function, an instruction. On the other hand, programming is a process that creates programs that involve the ratification of codes. Yes. You look at it again. Programming is a process that creates programs that involve the ratification of codes. Number two, coding required basic knowledge of programming skills without any software tools. Yes, you can use PHP, you can use C#, you can use Java, you can use C++. You just learn that skill and you write a solution that the computer, an instruction that the computer will obey. Yes. So on the other hand, you have programming requires a good tool, a good knowledge of programming skills and good software development tools to manage them in a better way. Tools for programming are required. While software coding does not require much of tools, coding knowledge helps to work with simple projects. I can employ somebody to do PHP coding. I can employ somebody to do C# coding, but the person does not have to know the big project and manage the projects. Programming knowledge helps to work with big projects and manage the projects. Coding requires simple tools and simple syntax, tools like a Notepad, and also the programming language that you want to use to solve a problem. Programming requires a large number of tools and syntax. Coding follows trial and error methods and needs no previous preparation. They just call you as a PHP programmer, say this is what I want to achieve. You start doing trial and error. You write the program, you test it. Does it comply? Does it give the required output? So you go all on and all off in the coding area. Now, what programming needs a pieces of detailed information and detailed approach, step by step, phase by phase. If you talk about programming, that's why you have what we call programming life cycle. So you have the beginning, you have the end. The beginning is the conception, you conceive, and the end is implementation and post-implementation follow-up, as well as support. Okay, so now definition of coding. Coding is an act of translation, human understanding language. It writes the user's instructions in the form of computer program. It converts the computer program into low-level language codes and feeds it to the computer for execution. It's an instruction that you give to the computer. Now, how about programming? On the other hand of the definition, programming is an act of defining and developing a logical software solution to the problem statement. It involves designing and developing the algorithms, the flow charts, the system design, database design, and implementing the solution using a programming language. Now, using the programming language is where the coding comes. It's where the coding comes, right? So let's move forward. So there are three common components of most of the programming languages. There's what we call syntax and rules that are to be followed when writing a code. PHP has its own set of rules and syntaxes. HTML has its own too. PHP has its own, .NET has its own. All the programming languages have their individual sets of rules and syntaxes. And also, every programming language has its own interpreter or compiler for converting code into the respective machine code. So that is where the other part of the component is a component of a code. And another thing that you see that is a common component of most of the programming languages is that code executions happens and a result will be given out as an output. So it executes the instruction and gives an output. A computer only understands the machine code. Writing, it could be, it is written in human understanding language, but must be translated in binary language. And remember that computer understands only zeros and ones, and that's what the computer understands. So the interpreter or the compiler breaks it down to the level of zeros and one. Now, coding used for implementing the fundamentals of computer programming in one way is also known as programming. All right, different is that the programming is used in a broader sense and deals with writing codes in multiple languages. The coders work as per the received instructions. After this, the code implementation, the debugging, code testing, and quality analysis is executed. These instructions are commonly called source code. Remember, source code. Coding involves writing code for creating a software program. Any sort of application, it could be a website or game or any other application that carries out a task in the computer. Programming is a bigger aspect than coding, like I said earlier, which is one of the parts of it. Coding is just one of the parts of the whole programming stuff. It is the process of developing an executable software program that is implemented without any errors. It is the programmer's job to analyze a problem in the code and provide solutions. Application creation requires several necessary steps. That is programming, which includes planning, said earlier, designing, testing, development, and maintenance. So programming deals with not only coding, but also analysis and implementation. Implementing algorithms, understanding data structures, and mitigating issues. Altogether, the whole process is called programming. Remember this. Now let's talk about a common language that people find it difficult to maybe explain. That is pseudocode. A pseudocode is a good approach for explaining the algorithm to the coder. It's an English-like, human understanding-like instruction step by step given to a coder. Coding is an essential part of programming, but a programmer requires a lot more knowledge, experience, and additional skills than coding. Programmer creates complex programs, read and executed by the program, read and executed by the machine, providing a complete set of instructions for computers to perform some tasks, series of tasks or group of tasks to achieve a goal. It takes years to become a professional programmer. If you can build a program and ensure that it doesn't have errors, you can consider yourself that you have leveled up in your career as a successful programmer. Thank you very much. Please, if you like this, exposition, I want to beg you that you subscribe to my channel and also share it to others. Thank you.